Here we are in stage 2, and I'm going to try to record this one without any kids singing in the background. So here is a try at it. We are first going to delete the placeholder text. So I've selected the main section text. I'm just going to delete that placeholder text, and then the same thing in the sidebar section, and then highlight your footer content and go to the CSS Designer panel. And here we want to replace that placeholder text with the site design. I'm just going to type that in, site design by against the clock. And you can do that in the source code area since it's hard to see with this background here. And then we're going to add the INC incorporated text. Make sure the footer tag is selected in the CSS Designer. And we're going to change that text color to white, and the standard white is FFFF. And this time we're going to go to File, Save as Template. Make sure your museum site is selected, and then save your existing template. So what we want to do is save this file as a template so that we can apply this layout to the other pages in our site, so we don't have to recreate it from. You can look at your source code. Now you can see that your HTML page is saved as a template with the DWT extension. And we're going to change the document title. You can see here now in your code that says template begin editable name and doc title. And in the beginning I named this tentatively as design 1. So now we can change that title to the Getty Foundation. And that's the title that's going to show up at the top of your browser in the tab. Make sure you're in Design View, and we're going to click to place our cursor in the main copy section. And then in CSS Designer, click the section main copy tag selector, and you can select it down here in our tag selector, and you can see the blue outline of the box. We're going to click the editable region in the template insert panel. I'm going to switch from HTML to template and click on editable region and type page content. Click OK. And now you can see this kind of cyan blue. Then click on the blue content tag, and you can look at the related source code. So this is the template begin editable name that you've named page content, and it's in the section with the ID tag main copy. In the page code, we need to edit the code because we want the main copy and the sidebar sections inside the editable area. In the page code, we're going to move that closing code here where it says template editable, and we're going to move it to be the closing tag of the section sidebar element. So we want to move it after this section sidebar element. And I just dragged it down after this section, so after the section div. You can refresh the design view, and the editable area now contains the 2 nested sections, but not the surrounding page content div. You can go ahead and save all and close the template file. In the Files panel, we want to double click on the museum site in the directory menu to open the Site Setup dialog box. Look at the Advanced Settings and click Templates. Now you can see, make sure you have Don't Rewrite Relative Document Paths, and then click Save to close the dialog box. Go back to the Files panel and open About HTML page. And you can see that this page has text, it has content, but it is not formatted to our layout. Choose Tools from the menu, go to Templates, and select Apply Template to Page. Now you want to select your template that we just saved. Click Design in the Templates list. Make sure the Update Page option is checked at the bottom of the dialog box. Then we're going to click on the document body, and then in the Move Content to New Region area, choose Page Content, the area that we selected, that we input, or that section, the main content. Click OK. And now we've applied that template to this page. You can now save the file and close it. Repeat this process to attach the design template to the 2 remaining pages in the site. So now I've applied the template to the permanent exhibitions HTML page as well as the traveling exhibits HTML page. Now go back to your template, and it's automatically created a template folder for you. And we're going to create links for each paragraph in the nav element. Highlight About the Getty and link that to the About page. Remember the different ways that you can do that? I'm going to hold down the Shift key and point it to the About page. And do the same thing with traveling exhibits. And permanent exhibits. Then you can check your code to see the links for each element in your nav bar. You can save your template file. And if it asks you to update, go ahead and click on Update. You want to update your pages in the dialog box and click Done to close. We're going to go back to our Properties panel here and add text to the end of the existing title document. So here where it says the Getty Foundation, I'm going to add the pipe and the text about the Getty. And don't forget to add a space at the end of the document title. Then click the split button if you haven't done so already so you can see the code, and scroll to the top of the code where you can see that title with the addition of the new text. Save the file and close it. Now open the permanent exhibits file and the travel exhibits HTML file and add the appropriate text to each page title. Permanent exhibits and traveling exhibits. And the more specific you can have your document title, the better the search engine optimization is going to be. So the search engine is going to look at your document title. It's going to look at any text in your links. And it will also look at the alt text. Back to our permanent exhibits file, we're going to go ahead and, after you've added that content to the title, save and close the files, and then we'll move on to stage 3. With your permanent exhibits file open, we're switching to live view, and I'm going to open the CSS Designer, select the CSS style sheet, and click the Add Selector button. I'm going to type in H1 as the selector name and hit Return. Now remember that tag selectors do not require the hashtag symbol. Define the properties for H1, applying a margin of 0 on each side. And then for color, we're going to sample the color of the logo using the eyedropper. For font size, select a pixel size of 30. And then create another tag selector named H2. Set the margins to 30 on the top, five on the bottom, and same thing for the color. Under text, select the color from the logo and a font size of 24. Now create a tag selector for H3. Set the margin on the top to 0, the bottom to 15, italic font style, and a weight of 400. To save time, I've added some more selectors, so let's go back and look at H3. I'm going to click on Show Set so you can see what's been done. We have a 15 pixel margin on the bottom. The other sides are at 0, the font style is italic, and a font weight of 400. Then I created a P selector with the properties of 0 margin all around, and then an A selector with the text color of the logo, font weight of bold, and then text decoration set to none. Go ahead and go to File, Save All. And now we're going to create some named anchors. If you have worked in Adobe Muse, then you probably have done that before by setting anchors to move to various parts of the page so that you don't have to keep scrolling. With the Permanent Exhibits HTML page open, we're going to switch to Design View. And I still have my code open in Split View. And we're going to click to place our cursor at the opening of the H2 tag. So here's H2 where it says Italian Masters. Put your cursor right after the H2 tag and type the following code. The A name equals quote masters quote closing tag as you type the closing tag, Dreamweaver will automatically close the last unclosed container tag, that A tag. We can refresh the view, and now we can see the anchor next to H2. We want to repeat this to add the named anchors to the other H2 elements. Use gods and glassmaking as the names of the related anchors. So I'm going to go down to my next H2 tag here. It says gods and heroes. And now I can find it in the code. So after the H2 tag, I'm going to do the same thing and type in that A name code. And refresh. And now I've added the anchor there. I'm going to keep scrolling down to glassmaking and look at the code and do the same thing. And then I'm going to go back because I just realized I typed in masters under the Gods and Heroes text. So I'm going to go back up and replace the Masters text with Gods and refresh. Now we want to highlight the words, the Italian Masters, in our sidebar. We want to link that text to the anchors that we just created. Click the hyperlink button in the HTML insert. So I'm going to switch to HTML and look for the hyperlink button. And then I can select my link to the appropriate. Now we want to open up that code pane again and look for the H1 tag where it says permanent exhibits. And we want to define a new named anchor, so place your cursor right after the H1 tag and type in the A name equals and this time I'm going to type in top as my named anchor. And same thing as you've done in Muse if you've worked in that program. So the top will just jump to the top of the page. And we're going to go down to the second H2 element where it says back to top and link that to the top anchor. Now we can continue to the next exercise. Now we want to add pseudo class selectors to create a rollover effect. I'm going to switch to live view. And this time we're going to hide the code panel and select the museum style CSS page in the CSS designer panel. We're going to add a selector and name it A:hover, and you can see your options there and hit return. And now we're going to define the properties for this new A:hover selector. Uncheck show set, and now we can see all of our options. Under text we want to select the color. And this time I'm going to sample a light brown color from the background. And I'm going to hide this panel and scroll up so that we can test the rollover effect. So now when I hover over the nav content, it turns to the light brown color. Save all and close the HTML file. And now let's go to the About page. Switching back to live view. Click to select the image near the top of the page with the main content or the section main copy element. Click the figure button now in the Insert panel under HTML. And we want to insert before. We're going to click to select the image again and open the DOM panel. And now you want to click the arrow to expand so that you can see what's inside the figure. So now we have the figure caption inside this figure element. Click the image tag. We're going to drag the image tag into the figure element. So now you can see what's happening in live view. The properties panel over. We have the placeholder text for the caption now under the image. Going over to design view, click to select the paragraph right below the image. Go back and select this whole paragraph. and just select that entire paragraph and then drag that onto the Fig caption element. Now if we go to our split view and look at the code, we can delete the placeholder text that was included in the figure and Fig caption elements. In the CSS Designer panel, we can create a new selector and call it Figure. And then we're going to give it some properties. We want to give it a width of 300, margin on the top and right of 0, bottom and left of 10 pixels, and float it to the right. Alright, again, to save time, I've gone ahead and added the properties here to the figure element. In the properties pane, I've given it a width of 300. I'm going to click on show set so you can see what I've done. 0 to the top and the right, and then 10 pixels to the left and the bottom. And then I've created another selector called Fig Caption and formatted the text style to italic, 12 pixels, a line height of 15, and aligned it to the right. And also have floated it to the right by just typing in float and then adding a value of right. Now if you can see here in design view, it looks like there's not much room at the top there. And I'm going to actually delete this placeholder text here. But I'm going to switch to live view, and you can see that it looks different, and I have a little bit more space on the top. Save all. And now I'm going to look at defining some descendant selectors. I'm still in About HTML. I still have my CSS style sheet selected. I'm going to add a selector. And I'm going to now call this the main copy figure. IMG selector. Uncheck show set, and I'm going to give it a width of 300 pixels and a height set to auto. Here. Now we're going to create another selector called sidebar P. So these are descendant selectors. So this is descendant from our sidebar ID selector, and then our main copy figure IMG selector is a descendant from our main copy selector. For the sidebar P, I'm going to text align it to center, and then create another descendant selector and call it sidebar H2. And we're going to give it a bottom padding of 10. Text align center. A bottom border width. So select the bottom border and give it a width of thin. The border bottom style of solid, and the border bottom color using the brown from the logo. One more descendant selector, drag the properties down, and call it nav P. So this is a descendant from our nav selector, and under properties, we're going to give it a margin of 20 pixels on the top, a font size of 20, and text align to the right. And we can save all our files and close them. And now we are done, and you can export your site definition under Manage Sites with the STE extension.